Hey, it is time for episode 4 of a new small micro idea that I'm doing called the Get Up. The Get Up is just my chance to say every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern-ish. Here's a couple tips on working from home. Here's some encouragement. Here's something you need to know about making the most of chaos. And it's just a fun chance for me to share a few ideas. It's been a blast getting feedback from everybody. So I've got a brand new idea for today. As I mentioned before, I'm in Blowing Rock, North Carolina right now, staying with my in-laws. And we'll probably go back to Nashville like next week or so. We're kind of hiding out here in the mountains. But I wanted to start today. If I was going to title this episode of the Get Up, the title would be Pivot, Not Panic. Pivot, not panic. I think that's a really simple choice that we get to make, to pivot, not panic. And so I want to talk about a crisis I experienced about 12 years ago. 12 years ago, I had a personal crisis. A small ad agency that I started with a friend just blew up in my face. Our biggest and let's be honest, our only client was furious and fired us. Worse of all, we owed them money back and we just didn't have it. I won't go into specifics, but I had about a nickel to my name at the time, and we owed them significantly more than a nickel. So the only way to save the day, the only way to salvage the situation was for me to create a brand new project for them. My business partner ghosted, just disappeared. And so I found myself alone trying to Hail Mary something I'd never done before. I had a full-time job. I had 2 kids under the age of 5. I had a wife who was worried about the project, and it was really hard to see how things were going to turn out. So in order to make it through that chaos, I had to get up at 5 a.m. and work on the project before I went to my corporate job. Every morning for weeks, I'd wake up early, drink as much coffee as I could, and grind on the project. And bit by bit, day by day, I started to move things forward, and I was able to turn it around. Now, the client still fired us. They 100% still fired us. That was never in question. But they were happy enough with the project I created that they didn't sue me. They didn't make me pay the money back. Those things were good. But the real win was something different. The real win was what the crisis taught me. That crisis taught me how to get up at 5 a.m. That crisis taught me I can accomplish amazing things and still go to a corporate job. That crisis taught me I was capable of more than I know. That crisis ultimately taught me how to side hustle. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but let me say it this way. Prior to that crisis, I had written 0 books. I hadn't written a single book. Since then, I've published 6, and I'm about to finish my 7th. I use those lessons to become a full-time speaker. I use those lessons to build a blog that would eventually move my family to Nashville and forever change the trajectory of our lives. And I can easily point back to that crisis as the starting point. That's what's so interesting about a crisis. It's always trying to teach you something that you might not have learned voluntarily on your own. Without that emergency with the client, I never would have just started to get up at 5 a.m. just because. That crisis was a crash course in innovation. It was an invitation to be more than I currently was. And we're in one right now. We are. Maybe yours is small. Like maybe the coronavirus has barely impacted your life. It's an inconvenience, but nothing has really changed for you. Maybe your crisis is big. Like maybe you're in the middle of a big crisis right now. You lost your job. I know what that's like. The biggest part of my business is public speaking. Do you know what's not happening right now? Public speaking events. Yeah, so I know exactly what it feels like to be in the middle of a big crisis, especially when it's around a career. There's no denying there's a crisis right now, but I don't want you to miss the chance to learn. I think a year from now, if you'll pay attention, if you'll lean in, you could be saying, I wouldn't be doing this thing I really love, but then the coronavirus forced me to change a few things in my life, and I'm so glad it did. And maybe it's something as simple as family dinners. Maybe it's been years since your whole family sat around the table together, but sheltering at home has forced you to do that. And it made you remember, oh, wait, this is something we want more of. And after it's all over, I want to be doing this more often. Maybe it's finally breaking up with a social media site you've been meaning to quit. Like all the bickering during the coronavirus has finally forced you to say, you know what? I'm out. Like this isn't good for me. Like Twitter is not great for me. Maybe it's a new business or a new technology. I'm using this time to lean into video. I'm jumping into YouTube finally. I'm working on a podcast. I'm exploring a bunch of different things. I don't know how you'll use the crisis, but I hope you'll use it because there's innovation hidden here. There's growth hidden here. There's hope hidden here. And I know it can be scary and uncertain, but I encourage you to make a simple decision. Pivot, not panic. That's the phrase I'm saying a lot these days. Pivot, not panic. Thanks for watching the Get Up this morning. I hope you have a great rest of your day.